Hi, this is Lainey Liberty. What you're about to hear is an interview that I did between myself and Antonio Portugal Alvizuri. We had the opportunity to sit down together and talk about two of his books. The stories within his two books, Bakari, the Andean Giant, and In Contact with the Grand Masters, are incredible. He chronicles a meeting with shamans and beings from other planets, from other dimensions, as well as different types of beings, including giants, who he claims are sleeping under some of the great mounds here in Bolivia and throughout the world, cyclopses, little people, which are referred to as Jiska Jek, which are basically dwarfs, and reptilians. In his book, he talks about people traveling through the astral plane and being stored in the great underground cities, and their souls are sent back to Earth to do very special work. We talk about it a little bit, but please be aware that English is not Antonio's first language. So if you're really interested in pursuing his stories and learning more about his writing, I urge you to buy his books and read them. They're really quite compelling, and they take you through a journey through his eyes. So without further ado, let's start with the interview. Okay, so we're recording. So I have the distinct honor of sitting with Antonio Portugal today, this morning here in La Paz, Bolivia. And I ran into you because I picked up your books and started reading them. And I was so inspired to talk to you. And so I sent you an email and asked you if I could interview you. But I don't know if you know this. My son and I have been traveling around the world for 7 years, and I'm completely, absolutely fascinated with archaeology. And I've looked into the ancient theories, and I've tapped into all of these different alternative researchers and their work. And so everywhere Miro and I go, we sit down and we ask the locals one thing, and I always ask this question. And the question is, please tell me your stories from your people that have been told for years and years and years. I want to hear about the people. I want to hear the stories of the people that came from the stars. And so that's always been my question to everybody. And I've asked the question over 100 times, and I've only gotten 2 stories so far. And I can tell you if you're interested at some point, but I want to hear from you. But when I picked up your first book and started reading it, every question that I was asking is responded to, is answered in the first book. So welcome, I'm so excited to talk to you.
Well, I'm very, very glad to be with you, because you got a special spirit. You got a lot of light around your body. So that's the most important for me, a person who are traveling with her son for so many years. So I'm here. I'm going to need your questions, and if I can't, I will answer it. Please start with the first one.
Absolutely. And also, just to let everybody know, my son is here in the background, and if there's a problem with understanding, because obviously your first language is Spanish and mine is not, Miro will translate. So I want to start. I've only read 2 of your books. You've published how many books?
I have 6 books already made. Most of them are in the Amazon Kindle, if anyone wants to low down. It's in the Amazon store with G. Antonio Portugal Alvizuri, and you're going to be able to have them. But talking about this book, In Contact with the Grandmasters, is one of my best books, and I'm very glad that you like it. So, it's a lot of history in the back. I talk about the ancient people. I talk how I translate myself to the past. And the main thing, my contact was Kilga, the small guy who has 24 fingers, 12 in both hands and 12 in feet. So for the Aymara and Quechua culture, they are very, very important since they were major masters since then and until now.
When we first arrived in Bolivia and we started to dig deeper into the culture and some of the traditions, we learned about the very special people with the 6 fingers and some with 6 toes. And what we learned was they were we call them shamans, but they're those that have contact to the other worlds, whether it's dimensions or worlds. The other thing that we were told about these very special people, believed and honored by the Aymaras and the Quechuas, that they were hit by lightning, and somehow that gave them that connection. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, living here as a normal people since thousands of years ago. We have in the area of the Andes some that they still live, but in the case of this book, Kilga, the small guy, come from the past to contact me with other masters in this area. It's very exciting because we had a fight, for example, near the Lake Titicaca in the upper mountains with the devil. You know the devil. I don't want to mention the right name, but I was fighting with the bad of the past. And this guy take care of me with my lights in the back, so they take care of me also. So it's important to live in this side of the world. I've been all around the world, but I'm so very glad that I am near the Lake Titicaca, Tiwanaku, the Andean Mountains, and the forest on the other side. We got so many secrets that little by little I am writing or making conferences to give to the people, because they have to know that we were living here with one of the best cultures.
Yeah, I really want to get into that. And I have so many questions about your travels in the past or through different dimensions and going into the astral plane as you describe in your books. I want to get into that, but before we do, maybe it would be important to share just a little bit of your background and how, before all of this came into your life, what led you to this point, because there's some special preparation in your physical third-dimensional life here that you had to take in order to be prepared for all these journeys.
Well, actually, I got a lot of missions. And one of the missions was when I was in the stomach of my mother before I was born. My mother was a very special person also, the only one in the family. So I have that power from my mother. And I was working since I was a kid with these beautiful things. But I can assure you also that it's not easy for me. A lot of people think I'm so happy because I'm getting in touch with beings of light, the masters, and all that. For me, it's a big responsibility because I live in two worlds. The world that we're talking right now and I have the other one, which one I have to have a lot of respect.
Yeah. Which was your first book? Was it in contact with the Grand Masters, or did you write something before this book?
Yeah, I have two books before the Masters. The first one is the Chincana of the Titicaca. The second is Secret Citizen in the Andes. The third is Contact the Grand Masters. The fourth is from the Tibet to the Andes, the encounter of two cultures. Then it comes Pacari the Giant,
which is this one.
The Andes, and the last one is named The Secrets of the Mysteries of the Tunupa Volcano, which one is translated now for 4 languages, English, French, and German. So I'm still working. Now I'm writing the 7th book, which one I'm not going to tell yet.
Okay.
But I hope will become on June from the next year.
Okay, well, watch out for that. Excuse me. Unfortunately, I've only read 2. I just came across your books by accident. They were in the shelf in the window of a cabinet in a restaurant that my son and I ate at. We were heading to Lake Titicaca, and I said, oh, that book's in English. I need something to read. I'll buy that. Boy, was I surprised. So I've read only the 2 that were available in English. I will download, buy the others from Amazon. And those of you that are watching this interview, I will put links at the show notes page and on the YouTube page and on the network page as well, so you can find those links. Okay, but I do apologize that I can only ask you questions based on what I've read from the first 2 books. Is it okay if we start with your contact with the Grand Masters? You started to tell about your friend who you met in the beginning of this book with the 6 fingers and the 6 toes. Maybe you can start there.
Yes. Actually, long time ago, years ago, I get into the Church of San Francisco in downtown La Paz, Bolivia. When I get out from that church, I saw a small guy with a big hat on the back discussing with the ladies who are fanatics to get in the church. But those ladies start yelling this poor guy because he was ugly, he didn't have the right clothes, he was dirty, and they trying to get it out because they're looking at the tourists in the area. So I get closer, and this Aymara guy, because the singer 6 fingers, which one we call sock talos, sock, in English or in Spanish translated means 6. So he got 6 fingers in each hand and in each foot. So after a lot of discussion, he yelled to the people around him in Aymara language, something I didn't understand. But I can assure you that everybody was running around, because most of the people in La Paz understand the Aymara language. After that, I get close to him, and he told me, I was waiting for you in this place because you got lots of missions to do. He told me, I came back from the past just to be with you. So I'm going to be your contact with the Grand Masters of the Andes. And that's why this is history. This book starts in the Church of San Francisco with Kilga, the giant, the living giant who still lives in the mountains in all around.
Amazing. Now, just to back up, you went to the church only because you had an inspiration to go. Nobody told you to go. You just felt this urge to go. And this was the first time you've seen this man with 6 fingers and 6 toes. You had never seen him before, right?
Yes, the first time, because I'm not used to getting to church, you know. But in that time, something was telling me in my inside that I had to live in that church.
Mm-hmm.
And before I get in that church, I was feeling that something very special will happen in that day. What happened in that day is to meet his great, great grandmaster also.
And what year did this happen? How long ago did this happen in your life?
This, almost all my books are related to the 80s.
Okay.
To the 80s, but I'm still in contact with the beings of light and the grandmasters making the missions.
We're going to get into that again, and I don't mean to be so mysterious to those that are watching, but there's a purpose that you're revealing all of this now and publishing your books and speaking publicly. And I'd like to go through your story a little bit more before you get to that message, because that's how you wrote your books, and it takes you through a journey that you really connect with. So please forgive us for not getting to the reason right away. But let's continue with your story. So your first meeting, what happened next?
After that, we have a second meeting in the church of San Pedro, near downtown also.
Mm-hmm.
So he told me that I have to go to the small island called La Isla Campanario, or the Bell Island, because it looked like a bell. And he told me, you will have a meeting with the greatest master over there. I cannot tell you yet, but we have to pass for a lot of things before you got there, with a lot of proofs, if you will be able to talk to this great master. So we went to the lake Titicaca, but before that, we passed with the El Dragón Dormido near the lake, the big lake of the Titicaca, which one looks a dragon. It's a sleeping dragon in the rock. So I climbed by myself to a special altitude, and I fall down. And when I wake up, I start to see things different. Different trees, different people, the way they look. It's because I translate myself to the past. But I meet there another great master who takes me to his house near the lake, and he gave me a lot of secrets and things that I don't supposed to tell yet. I got the night with a big moon lighting the lake through us, and her company, her wife in this case, who also take care of me that night. Little by little, I'm going to start sending those messages. Okay. Finally, I fall to sleep in one of the small rooms, and I wake up next day with freezing, because that house didn't exist anymore, because I recovered the actual time. Then I trip to the Campanario Island, or the Bell, and Kilga, the 6 fingers man, was waiting for me in the upper part of that island. Minutes after, the master, who used to come, and we get together to this great, great master.
Before we move on to that, I want to just back up to, you write about in the book, your journey going up this mountain. You wrote so eloquently about it. You said that you were just pulled to go up the mountain. You met a shepherd or an ordinary man that looked a little odd, but you described him beautifully and you knew just to follow him. You weren't aware at that time that you had gone through a time portal, were you? You were just moving through. At what point did you realize you were no longer in the time that you started?
Well, it was a mission, telling you again. The mission is supposed to be with Master, who used to that small island in Bolivia, on the side of Bolivia, in the Titicaca. He was told he get out from the lake, open his hands. So he walked all the way up, and he told me not to get near him because he had so much energy that can destroy my human body, even my soul, you know. So we start talking with him things that I cannot tell you in this moment. Then I start having a headache, a very bad headache. And I told the master, please, my head is going to blow. and he told me, you have to take this thing because somebody was trying to destroy the pineal gland, you know. Yeah. And they told me they did a bad things to you in that gland. So after that, after he finished that, I start to see different things also. I see the lake to the inside, the mountains, I could see the metals we have, you know. And in that moment, a few ships ran near us, and I couldn't see the skeleton of those animals, you know, because he opened my eyes, calling me. So, but he told me, don't ever try to use that power I given to you right now in other things that it will be just the research of the past. So I decided not ever try to look something faster because I got open these grants.
Now, is this the story where you're on this mountain and it's a ceremonial place where people in today's world toss litter around and do black ceremonies for wealth and power? This is the same story.
The place is called Hippie Parchi. It's up in the mountains also. You cannot believe when I get there, you know. They got skivvies, they got
underwear
yeah. Hanging because they make witch things between lovers or people who look for power. In the past, that part was a special place for the Tiwanaku and the Incas, you know. But passing the years, they become to be a that thing. The witches are there. And the devil and ladybug things are there. So I hope someday we're going to clean it, everything, and put or restore what it was in the beginning.
Yeah, you talked in the book about how you were warned not to touch anything because the energy that is in that area now is still very powerful in this day. But because you were transformed to another time, you were able to not be a part of that. Is that correct?
It is correct. As soon as I see that place with those bugs hanging in the mountains, I was trying to clean the area. But Hilka, the man with the 6 fingers, told me, don't ever touch those things because you only have that power in your body. And it will be very difficult to take it out from you. So just watch what we're going to do, what the message we'll give you, but don't ever try to clean this area yet.
There'll be time and space for that. And is this not also the place where you had to make a big decision about what you were going to do with your spirit, whether you were going to, which direction you were going to go?
They tried to destroy my spirit in that part because there was a ship, a big ship, whatever, attacked me in that place. But my gardens, spiritual gardens, made something around my body which was transparent. And that animal came and tried to break it, that thing, but he didn't get into my soul. He didn't get into my soul because they were another people who come from other places in the world, and they are also people with the 6 fingers to take care of me.
Amazing. All right, let's move now to the lake. Now I can't wait to go there. So please continue. You with your guide traveled to the lake. What happened next?
I arrived to this small place near the Titicaca. They got a beautiful church inside there, and they are the biggest paint of the Spaniard colony, Even they got a prince of Tunupa, one of the masters inside that church. Anyway, next day, very early, we left at the port of the small town with the fisherman who took me to the island, Campanario. So in the way, we have so many things that are different because it takes 3 to 4 hours to get in that island.
Mm-hmm.
So in the middle of the lake, we start to think very bad and good things. In one moment, I was watching the lake very calm, and I could see a light inside the lake, like brilliant things that move inside. But before we get into the island, it was a big storm.
Was it from above? Or was it just the waters? Was it
just the water, like 2 meters high, the waves, and that. I was so scared, and the fisherman also was scared, and he told me, "You didn't have a permission to get in the lake," and he was right. I didn't get the permission, so in that moment, I pledged the permission to the masters of the lake. And after that, it became very calm until we got to the harbor. We get out, and then we climb to the upper part where Kirga, the guy with the 6 finger, was waiting for me. But in this case, with his best suit, he looked so bright and beautiful. And I was so happy to be with him again in that part. In this kind of missions, sometimes you don't know what's going to be happening. I just follow my spirits, and I follow my guardians.
Do you always feel them around you, your guardians?
Yes. And they all the time with me. And I can tell you right now, they're behind us, taking care of me.
Awesome.
When I make a big interviews outside of Bolivia, for example, Republic Dominican or Dominican Republic, Chile, Peru, Argentina, or inside the big cities in Bolivia, they all the time are behind me, trying to calm me because sometimes I have attacks with the black people. So they defend me in those cases. So we can resume this history about the book In Contact with the Grandmasters to this end. And thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
All right, so we pretty much covered everything in contact with the Grand Masters and the beings of light. Is there anything you want to say about this before we move on? Do you want to talk about the beings of light or anything else? Or are you ready to move on?
Even if I write that book, I don't remember a lot of things because my mind is always attacked with the black people. So for me, it's okay what we talked before.
Sounds great. Well, I just had the opportunity to read this one over the last couple of days. Hikari, the Andean Giant. Why don't we start with the story in this book? You meet a couple of incredible people and you also fall in love. So why don't we start there?
Yes, the story starts also in the city of La Paz. So I moved from the city of La Paz to a place near Oruro, the capital of that place, to a small village which is called Sabaya. In that small place, I was waiting for what the beings of light will tell me. I was in the main plaza, and there was sits a beautiful Aymara woman, Maria Pacusillo is the name. So she was so beautiful, and I get to know her. So she told me, sit near to me, and I'm going to show you how to make
the weavings, the textiles, the traditional textiles. Like that. Yeah.
But I didn't know yet that she came also from the past to be with me. After we talked a little bit, I decided to stay in that village during the night. I was thinking all night what's going to be the mission for the next day. So Maria Pacusillo told me in the morning that I have to visit a shaman, an Aymara old guy, who supposed to be waiting for me about 1 hour driving. I was with my jeep, so I went all the way to this place. It was under a volcano, which one is the city underneath the surface. But before, when I get over this guy, this shaman, this Yatiri, what we call, there are a lot of people who are in charge of the brains of a lot of people, we start talking to him, and he started to tell me how was the beginning in the Andes in a lot of things. But he told me, be prepared because my body will change to a giant.
Not your body, but the body of the shaman that you're speaking to.
Yes.
That you had a scheduled meeting that night.
The name was Kupa, that shaman. So I was sitting in the front. The house was very small. And in that moment, I couldn't believe this Yatiri Kupa started to change his body and growing almost to take his head to the roof. I was calm because it was a mission, but I'm a human being. Inside me was something that I cannot explain right now. This giant started to tell me a lot of things about the Andes and the way and the place we were.
Yeah, do you know more or less what year or how many years ago this giant lived on this physical planet, on this plane?
A lot of thousands. I cannot give a precise.
50,000 more or less.
Maybe more than that. Much more than that.
And so he's telling you about a whole culture, living, thriving culture that took place in this very spot that you were.
Yeah, besides, he told me how do they used to live together with giants, with cyclops
Cyclops is what we say in English. Yeah,
yes.
Cyclops.
The small people But these small people just very brave, good fighters. And that was comfortable for them to go into the chincanas or the tunnels to get between the cities and the grounds. You know why? Because in that time, persons from other planets trying to get in touch or run our beautiful planet Earth. So they've been fighting against these black people, which one are until now the reptilians.
Yeah, let's talk about that in a minute. We forgot to really touch on when we were talking about the first book, just where the grandmasters, where their community and where their culture came from. Can you share where they're originally from? Because that'll give some context to what we're talking about.
In the beginning, uh, our past people used to be living in a big continent called La Lemuria, the Lemury uh, place in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So our best partners or brothers or whatever come from the planet Sirius.
Which is Sirius in English, yeah?
Sirius. Yeah, we got blood part of the Sirius people. So since then, before that the Lemuria or Mu sank inside the Pacific Ocean, a lot of things moved to North, Central, and South America.
Do you know if there was a pole shift at that time? Did the ships change positions?
I cannot, for the truth, I cannot tell you that, but I assure you that, for example, the Hopi culture nationality in the United States, they live in the corner of the four states. They got hiding a lot of information from the people from the Lemur. And I was talking with the Hopi people when they visit me in Bolivia, and they told me they belong to the Tiwanaku also. So for me, it's very important because they are doing until now their job, preserving a lot of secrets.
The Hopi people?
The Hopi people.
Their tradition of stories, the Kachinas, are said to have come from tunnels under the earth, and so it seems quite likely that they came from the same places, from Lemuria and from under the ground.
Yeah, it's very possible, but the cities underground are not just in America. They are Africa, Europe, Asia.
Mm-hmm.
You know? We are just part in this part of the Americas. For example, they got tunnels also between North America moving to the Central America with the Mayas, Mayan chest, and they got tunnels to South America all the way to the Antarctic, Little by little, we start to find those tunnels. I get, as a human being, near the lake, a tunnel, which one got a lot of information in the walls of that tunnel, but we call chincanas.
The tunnels are chincanas.
So I keep that information also for the future. But for me, it was the discoveries in America. But I'm not allowed to let the place to the people, to the humanity yet.
Okay.
So that kind of tunnels have a union in America, like I was telling you before, North, South, and Central America. A lot of underground cities, which I visit most of them in the astral trips.
Can you talk a little bit before we move on? What is the difference between an astral plane from your experience in the physical plane? We talk about the process of traveling to an astral plane from third dimensional to this other dimension. Or is it a dimension or is it a plane?
It's difficult to tell also, If I can tell you one or the other, I'm not going to be lying, but the thing I can tell you, I never go out because I want to go out in the astral trip.
Okay.
When I go out, my guardians and the beings of light come to pick me up, but it's not easy. At the moment I get out from my body, my human body, I felt a lot of fear. I cannot describe how different it is. But when I'm out, I can feel that I'm free to do a lot of things. But I follow my guides, and they take me under the chincanas or the tunnels, flying to different places. It's amazing.
I can't even imagine.
Yes, but like I was telling you, I'm a human being. I'm still scared of a lot of things. I hope in the future I will get more calm from those things. But that's part of my life.
It's fair. Fear is part of what makes us human. So let's move back into your first journey into these underground tunnels that you were brought there on an astral plane. You were not brought there in your physical body.
The first time they come, if I come to the room I was laying down, and they told me that was going to be my first trip. So, like I was telling you before, I was scared when I get out and we fly all over the underground city and the small lake, the Lake Titicaca. They cured my physical and my spiritual body. I can tell you my physical because whatever they did inside that city passed automatically to my physical body. Then I got the initiation. Mm-hmm. So when I died in the physical, I'm going to be working in that city because I'm a part of that city. So I'm not afraid to die in this time in that physical because I have a lot of work to do in the city under the ground or the small lake in the Titicaca Lake.
And so you'll be working with the Grand Masters.
Yes, a lot of people, but their souls, they still work. A lot of scientific, lots of people who do a lot of good things to this earth, and their souls, after they die, they move to that place.
Can you talk about some of the different beings that you met when you were in these chincanas?
Well, the chincanas is just a tunnel to get in the underground
just
cities.
To go.
Yes.
Oh, but once you were in the underground cities, can you talk about maybe the Cyclops?
The inside of those cities are domes, transparent, different sizes. You can see people moving without touching floor. They got a big, for example, kind of big television, so you can see a lot of things. For example, I was watching the lake. They got parts of the UFOs can get into those cities. Even the campesinos or the farmer near the lake, sometimes they see those flying saucers get into the lake. And most of the time, they don't see it because those flying saucers disappear for the eyes of the campesinos, of the farmers. But every day they arrive and get out from the Lake Titicaca. So I was there in that city. I have so much information. The Grand Masters inside also told me not to get near there because what the luminosity they got can hurt myself. So I'm trying to resume this conference, telling you first what happened to me in those cities.
So just to go back to the vessels, the flying saucers that you saw, you wrote in your book they're 8 meters in diameter, more or less, and they're very smooth looking, very smooth, and they have small lights on them, and you said that they can appear and reappear at a matter of a thought. They dissolve and reappear. They don't actually have to go through the lake in the physical plane.
That's right. That's right. I mean, they are different kind of saucers. A lot of people never see them,
Yeah.
A few people just watch it.
We saw it too in Peru, didn't we, Miro? It's like, oh yeah, Mom. Can we talk about maybe the reptilians? There's a lot of talk about them in today's current alternative media and the discussion of their influence or bad influence. You wrote a little bit about their history and how they appeared in the ancient world, in the ancient community. Can you share a little bit about that?
Well, they come from other planets since thousands years ago. First place they get in was in Alvizuri. Mm-hmm. Then they get also in America and Africa, Europe, or whatever. They are still in charge of a lot of things until now. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, I found a paint of them and a very old church near the border between Bolivia and Chile. The church is Curahuara de Carangas, which all the paintings are on the walls.
Like the frescoes.
The frescoes, that's the right word. So I find them, the reptilians painted maybe by a priest in that time, more than 100 years ago. And I find it 2 months after I wrote the book, Pacari de Giant Andes, and it's last 100 kilometers on that part. So for me it was very important. Even one of the national newspapers took place for that and informed the people. So the reptilians are everywhere.
Yeah, and they're part of all of the ancient mythology as well. In Peru, it's the snake is the underworld. And then here through the Aymaras, there's always references, even in Tiwanaku, the tall statues that are holding the 4 or 5-headed snakes.
Yeah, more than a snake, which one are reptilians also. It's the dragons.
Dragons, okay.
The dragons are in all the cultures. Especially in Asia, you can see the dancing with the dragons. Mm-hmm. So it's more deeply to tell you more about these persons, which ones they can get in human bodies.
So they shapeshift?
Yeah, they can shift to human, to dog, whatever, But they are very powerful right now in our Earth, in the planet, in our planet. So you're going to be researching in the future about this, and I'm very sure in the future, Miro and you will come back again to Bolivia, And we're going to be still talking about
Oh,
this.
yeah.
Fantastic,
Yeah.
A lot of people think I'm crazy.
I don't.
But I don't care. I'm doing my job. I'm telling what I thought to tell. I'm very careful not to tell everything.
Of course.
So with this conversation, I think we come to the end of this.
Can I ask one more question?
Yes.
You've been told, and you write in both books, that we're coming up on a very important change. Can you talk anything about that?
We're changing our coming soon.
Okay.
But I'm not going to tell you if it is good or it's going to be bad.
Do you know?
Just, I'm telling you, to your audience, to your friends, just live your life. Be happy. Be conscious. Don't do bad things. Help the people. And this world will change to that point. Believe me, we're free to do a lot of things. Just do it the right way. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, so we just finished up the interview with Antonio, and it was such an incredible pleasure to speak with him. I would urge anybody who's interested, please take a look at the link below and access his books via Amazon. I was lucky enough to buy the 2 physical books that he has printed into English to read them. But the others are available and accessible for download in the digital format. Antonio is not a native English speaker, and the books are translated into brilliant English. And what I would say to you is the details and the descriptions in his books really make his stories come to light. One of the things that I found so absolutely riveting about his stories is, even though these experiences happened for him 30 years ago in the 80s, now many things are coming to light with many earth changes and the importance of starting to reveal some of this information. You heard Antonio was quite guarded with a lot of the information that he had, and I'm sure for good reason. We've had several conversations off camera, and he's quite authentic and quite very vulnerable to these experiences, and very much aware of how people outside of these lines of thinking view him. It's a very difficult path for him to walk, especially coming from a research community, and before that from more of a traditional business background. So he's had to overcome quite a bit of criticism on his path. But I will say to you that he completely has experienced everything that he writes about, and everything that he talks about comes from his personal experience. And I truly believe that what he's sharing with us is really a gift to humanity. So thank you for watching this interview. Again, follow the links to his books and investigate for yourself. I will tell you that being here in Bolivia for the last 6 weeks has been such an incredible honor, and this country is filled with so much energy and mystery, and it's an incredible place to be. So come visit Bolivia, read his books, and follow your own research. And we're out.